Okay, so let's go through this. I've applied it on the eyelids, I've applied it on the under eyes, just around the nostrils here because I feel like I have a little bit of darkness there, around the lips a little bit there, and just here. These are all areas where I feel that I have a lot of darkness. Hey guys, welcome back to my educational beauty channel, and today's video is all about how to use color corrector. I've had so many questions about this on my YouTube videos recently, so I thought let me address it because on this particular video I had pretty dark circles because I've not been getting any sleep. So let's head into the video, but before I forget, if you do like this video, please do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. And you can also catch me over on Instagram. So let's jump straight into the video. Okay, so we're going to be talking about color correction today. And as you can see, there's a lot of darkness going on my face. Now, I haven't put anything on yet, no skincare. I want to start right from the beginning just so that I can really show you exactly how you can apply color corrector, like literally how to like blend it in and everything you need to know basically. So I'm going to be going through two of the most obvious shades, which are green and orange, or peach, whatever you want to call that, because obviously you adjust it according to your skin tone, and I'm going to explain that shortly as well. You may have noticed that my brows are done. They're a little bit darker than usual because I've just had my retouch done for nano blading. So I'll put the link in the description actually for you guys if you want to know where I get them done in Dubai. So yeah, they're a bit dark, so I actually can't put anything on them for another 9 days. And yeah, I've got to leave them like this, but I really love them. They're going to lighten up. They're not going to be as dark. I always get her to kind of leave the ends because I like to kind of do that myself, fill it in accordingly, like however I'm feeling or whatever makeup look I'm going for, because I take the hair off at the ends of my brows here because they grow too low. So I like it to be just not so lifted, but you know, where they are now. Let's start with applying a under eye mask because I'm going to talk you through some bits first. So while I do that, I can leave this on. This is the 1 Skin Harley Street London under eye masks. I'm not a huge fan of gel under eye masks just because I feel like they kind of slide all over the place, but let's give these a go. These are quite big. Is that just me? These are big. I swear under eye masks are not this big, right? That's like a cheek mask. That is big. I don't think I've ever seen, let's just push this right up. I don't think I've ever seen an under eye mask this big. No, I'm telling you, they are not this big. They are smaller usually. Yeah, I'm just not a huge fan because I feel that they slide all over the place and it's a bit annoying. I have to keep pushing them up. But let's see how these ones go. This is actually the Black Diamond eye mask. So it is especially good for diminishing the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, softens the appearance of dark circles, minimizes the sensation of puffiness, and it's left smoother, hydrated, and awakened. Leave on for, it says 20 minutes. I'll leave it on for as long as I can. Now, I honestly feel like recently I have, for the last like week or so, 2 weeks, I feel like I've just got really bad dark circles, and that's what kind of like led me to create this video today, because I have done another video which obviously is how to cover dark circles with color corrector, but I really wanted to kind of go through, see, I'm already feeling it slipping, so I'm just kind of like pushing it up. I really wanted to kind of go through some of the other shades as well and just really show you the whole kind of process. I feel like I've just got a lot of darkness on my under eye lately. I thought this is the perfect time to cover this topic. So let's get started. So I'm just going to talk through first because I'm going to put my skincare on after I've taken these eye masks off. Well, as you guys know, I don't like to overcomplicate things for you and I want to keep it really simple. We're going to talk about orange and green. So I have a couple of different brands here. I've got the Charlotte Tilbury. This is the, what do you call this? It doesn't actually say. I think it is just the under eye color corrector, and it's the number 3 tan, and it's basically like a bright orange, and this color is great. There you also have this is the Makeup Forever 5 Camouflage Cream Palette, which basically has different shades in here. Now I do think that they've updated this palette since. Yeah, I think they have, because I think I do have another palette which is more updated one, but honestly let's ignore the rest of the colors in here. I just want to focus on the green and the orange to explain to you exactly what that does. Now when you are using, let's talk about your different skin tones. You've got, we're gonna really keep it simple because obviously I know there are so many different skin tones in between these shades, but you have fair, medium, and dark, right? For fair, I would always recommend using a peach color corrector if you are trying to cancel out kind of under eye darkness or dark circles, darkness anywhere on the face. See what I mean? That's just already slowed down. If you are medium skin tone, then I would recommend, like say my skin tone, I would recommend using orange because that is great for cancelling out darkness, under eye dark circles on your skin tone. If you are dark skin tone, then I would recommend a kind of very deep orange or almost like a red colour. That will help to really cancel out any darkness that you have and help to brighten those areas up. If you look at a colour wheel, then you'll understand exactly what I mean. Now, if you have orange to counteract darkness, you'll see on the color wheel that it's actually opposite a very deep purple shade, which is kind of the kind of color you would get if you have dark circles. Sometimes, I don't always think the dark circles are purplish. It does help to kind of brighten up that color, so it counteracts it, it balances it out. And if you look at the green, it's opposite red, so that helps to counteract and neutralize red, so it cancels the other color out, and that's why it helps to kind of, the orange helps to give you that brightness and the green helps to just neutralize that redness. So hopefully that will make it simple for you. Moving on, I want to talk about how you can apply the orange. Now I'm going to be using the Charlotte Tilbury orange because I really do love this color corrector. I feel like the texture is just so nice. It's almost like this cream, almost a cream to powder. It's quite a nice opaque color corrector. Personally, I prefer opaque consistency when it comes to color correctors because I feel like I can really cancel out the opposite shade. So I feel like when it's very kind of fluid and it's not really, you know, if you have severe dark circles, you want to get an opaque color corrector because the liquid formats are just not going to do anything. And if it kind of ends up, if you put it on and you can't see the orange, it's not doing anything really. Hopefully that kind of clears that side up for you. Moving on to green. Now green helps to neutralize redness. So I'm going to be using that on areas that I feel I can see a little bit of redness. I have noticed watching back on some of my videos, you can't really see much of the redness on my face. I guess that's because of the studio lights. I can see where they are, so wherever I do apply it is where I can assure you I have redness on my face. It may not be severe, but it is some level of redness. And then I'm going to finish that whole look off so that you can then see exactly how it looks once my foundation and my concealer is on, and I'm going to show you how to layer it up on top so that you know how to work on top of the color corrector. Because my redness isn't so severe, I can use a slightly more fluid green color corrector because it's not severe. So just think of it this way. If you have like from 0 to 10, 0 being how light the redness is, as in how minor the redness is, 10 being how severe the redness is, you can use a color corrector which is much more fluid going up to much more opaque. The minor your redness is, the more fluid your color corrector can be. The more severe your redness is, the more opaque your color corrector can be in consistency. So, okay, moving on, let's get to my skincare. I'm gonna actually put some eye cream on. I'm gonna apply it on my lids first because I'm just gonna let this sit for a little while longer. I mean, it does say 20 minutes. I think I've left it on for about 10. Okay, I'm using my Ulla Henriksen Wrinkle Blur eye gel, and I'm just gonna put this on my lids, not too close to my brows because obviously I can't touch them. I can't actually get them wet for 10 days, but they did give me this little brow balm, and I've got to put that on every morning, and I've just realized I didn't put it on, so let me just put this on. Okay, let's take these off. That's nicely hydrated underneath, so that's nice, but you can still see I've got like dark circles, right? So, okay, next up, I'm gonna put my moisturizer on. Actually, I'm gonna put my serum on, which I've started using this, and I actually really like it. Well, I actually started quite a while ago, and then I stopped, and then I started again. This is the, what is this? This is the Magic Serum from Charlotte Tilbury. Gonna go in with some moisturizer, using my FLP moisturizing lotion. Lastly, I'm going to use my, how do you say this? Herborian. Yeah, I don't know how you say this, but it's the Korean, how can I not say Korean? Korean Skin Therapy. This is a brand I think a lot of you may be familiar with. It's actually really good. Okay, let me explain what this is. It's called Skin Hero, and it says it's a bare skin perfector, a 7 days Why can I not speak today? 7 days transformation. It's universal, so there's no color in there, and it's silicone free. The skin surface texture is refined and your complexion looks more even. I have to say, I definitely have noticed more even skin tone, and yeah, I'm really happy with this. I think I'm actually on day 7 and I'm gonna probably keep using this. Now, you really do want to make sure that your skin is properly hydrated before you start with your color correcting, because if you have very dry skin and you apply a color corrector, especially if you're using an opaque color corrector, then you're going to see that kind of patchiness come through, and it's just going to stick to the dryness, and it's just not going to look great, and the overall result isn't going to be what you're after. So now that this is done, we can go in with color corrector. So I'm going to use my orange, and what I'm using is I'm just using my finger here. I'm just kind of like getting the color corrector so you can see it's like fully orange, and we're going to apply this to all the dark areas. So this is where I'm gonna just pat it in. Now, I really am gonna go a little bit overboard with this because I do want you to see properly how to apply this. Okay, so let's go through this. I've applied it on the eyelids, I've applied it on the under eyes, just around the nostrils here because I feel like I have a little bit of darkness there, around the lips a little bit there, and just here. These are all areas where I feel that I have a lot of darkness. Now, the next step is I am just going to kind of buff this in. I'm just getting a beauty blender, and I'm just gonna make sure there's no kind of major excess there in terms of product. So it's not so much blending, I'm kind of just making sure it's buffed into the skin, because I don't want, basically like what I just said, I just don't want extra product. You can just stick to patting it on with your fingers, to be honest, if you want, if you're happy with that. You don't have to use a sponge, but it's up to you. I just don't like to get too messy with my fingers, so that's why I use a beauty blender. Now let's move in with the green. So I'm gonna do the same thing, and I'm just gonna apply this to the areas where I feel like I have a little bit of redness. Oh, definitely here. I always get a little bit of redness on the chin. Don't know why. Okay, just gonna, again, do the same thing here. Just buff in this green. Just a little bit. I don't want to get rid of the color. You should still see where there is green and where there is orange. It shouldn't disappear. You should still see that because you'll cover it with concealer. Okay, so now you can see I've color corrected with the orange, with the green everywhere. And now I'm happy to kind of move on to the next step. Now, hopefully, I've made it pretty clear. So what you want to do is you want to make sure it's kind of almost stained the skin a little bit. It looks like it's stained the skin. It hasn't actually stained the skin. But you know where you don't have that excess product, it's not like a layer sitting on top. And that's why I probably use a sponge, because I want to make sure it soaks up any additional product that's sitting there. I don't want it to be all creamy on the skin. It just should be you know, like really kind of melted into the skin, because that should be your new base layer before you apply your concealer or your foundation now. Next, I'm gonna go in with my concealer. So this is where I'm gonna now apply my makeup as normal, and this is where I feel like buffing is a better technique for application on top of color corrector, because you don't want to really move this around. So you can see that I have the color corrector on everywhere. I was going to use my Tarte Shape Tape Concealer, but I've just decided I'm going to use the NARS Radiant Concealer in Ginger, because I don't really want to use a really full coverage concealer, because I want you guys to see how this really does work with concealers that you guys probably use. So I'm going to apply my concealer to my eyelids here, so just as I normally do. And this is the shade Ginger. And I'm just gonna buff this in. So I'm gonna get my sponge and I'm just gonna buff it in. I'm just gonna buff it in as I usually do. So you'll see how this will just kind of sit on as it usually does. Now, I don't usually use color corrector, but honestly, I feel like sometimes I do need it, but I just don't bother with it. But that's because I use a kind of full coverage concealer and it doesn't turn grey on me. I'm gonna use my Huda Easy Bake Powder in Banana Bread, and I'm just gonna press this onto my eyelids. Just gonna dust that off. So do you see how that's like, there's no orange, but it's brightened up the area and it's got rid of the dark lids that I had. Now I'm gonna carry on with the rest of my face. I'm using the same concealer and I'm just gonna conceal as normal. There you go. So you can see I've concealed as I normally do. If you've watched any of my other videos, then you know that this is exactly how I would normally conceal. Now I'm just going to literally buff in the concealer that I have applied. And again, I'm not moving it kind of side to side. I'm just buffing it in as normal. Everything carries on as normal on your face. So you can see how the orange, it's kind of like disappeared underneath, but we've got that really nice brightness and it's covered up the dark set. Like there's no darkness kind of coming through that concealer. Considering I'm using a light kind of medium coverage concealer, that concealer hasn't got like amazing coverage. You can probably still see the orange in other areas that I haven't applied any concealer, but I'm not too fussed about that because I still need to go over with my foundation. So that doesn't bother me. So don't worry if you can still see things coming through if you're applying your makeup in this way. So I would say if you prefer using a light coverage foundation and you don't really use concealer and you want to use color corrector, then I would always opt for a more fluid version because maybe a light coverage foundation isn't going to be enough to kind of cover up an opaque orange color corrector. But ultimately, if you're using an opaque color corrector, that means that your darkness must be pretty severe, in which case I'm sure you're probably not using a light coverage foundation because that just wouldn't make sense, you know. Moving on, I'm going to go in with a concealer now. I'm using my dark shade because I want to kind of just contour my face very quickly. I'm going to just do this real quick, kind of like speed it up so that we can just move on to the next step where, you know, you can see how I'm applying my foundation. So now I'm going to use my new foundation that I'm loving at the moment, and I have been using it quite a lot, the NARS Light Reflecting Foundation in Barcelona. So I'm just going to grab my sponge, and I've got this at the back of my hand, and I'm just buffing it into my hand first, and I'm just going to buff it on as usual. So let me just apply my foundation, and then we can talk about how this all looks. Okay, so foundation is done. I'm going to go in with my powder for my under eyes. So I'm just going to dust away all this powder. As you can see, my foundation is done now and I've set it with powder, so we can see that there's no darkness there. The orange really does help to kind of balance out the darkness, kind of like just cancel it out. And also the green that I applied as well, that's helped in the areas that I had some redness. I really do feel like the orange really does help with certain areas, like when you have pigmentation. So if you have darkness around the nostrils, which is quite common, also around the lips, this is really going to help. But ultimately, do remember, you've got to hydrate your skin underneath first, because if you don't put your skincare on properly and you don't use good hydration underneath, then the orange, the color can stick to like patchiness or any dryness, and it just isn't going to work well. You've got to make sure your base is nice and smooth and it has nice and even hydration and there's not too much dryness. Maybe exfoliate properly beforehand, and you'll see that it really does help you. Like, you don't have to put as much as I put on, but I really just wanted to show you, you know, I didn't want to put the amount that I feel that I probably need and then you can't even see it properly. So I have gone a little, I've exaggerated a little bit with the amount of product that I've put, so I'd rather just be honest with you guys. But if you have any questions about this, let me know, because honestly I do feel that it isn't overly complicated, and I really did want to make it super easy for you guys to understand, just so that you know that it's not as technical and complicated as what it may seem. And I know sometimes you can look at color correctors and think, oh my god, there's so many, and that's why I've really just spoken about two, because I personally don't use any other color corrector. I just don't feel the need to, and I think that the two main areas that people have a problem with is redness and darkness, really. So if you want to discuss other color correctors, then please do let me know in the comments, and if I get enough comments about it, then maybe we can do a more detailed color correcting video. But hopefully this really does show you, like, I really feel I haven't got any other makeup on, by the way, so obviously I need to add depth to my face now, because now it's looking very flat, because it's literally you know, you've got the foundation, but because the green and the orange have really got to work, you can't see the darkness around here. So you kind of feel like all the shadows are kind of like gone. But that works great because it's all the darkness that I didn't really want there. So now I can go in and add the shadow wherever I do want it, which is my kind of like with my powder bronzer, and that gives my face more depth. But hopefully this kind of like answered all your questions, or you know, whatever questions you may have about orange color corrector and green color corrector, and you've seen exactly how you should apply it. I hope that's cleared up all of your questions about color corrector. And if you do have any more questions, please do let me know in the comments box below. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you never miss any of my future videos. Until the next video, take care and I'll see you soon.